Hi folks, and welcome to this second part of my comparison video between Metacat and the Joy for All cat. First of all, I want to answer a question I got on a previous video. Someone asked, how does Metacat respond to the come here command? But I can tell you something, folks, I'm not expecting Metacat to get up and walk over to me when I say it. Metacat, come here. So what happens is Metacat gets two light bulbs in his eyes and shakes his head. So he basically just says no. So I don't understand the significance of the light bulbs, but yes, he says no when you ask him to come here.
Maybe it's him thinking, I won't come, I won't go.
Oh, he said yes. So, getting back to the comparison. So first we're going to talk about the sensors. So both cats have got touch sensors on the top of the head, on the back, and Metacat has an extra touch sensor on the chest. And the Joy for All has an extra touch sensor on its cheek. And it has a touch sensor on the chest that you access when it rolls over. So with the Joy for All cat, when you stroke the head, it immediately starts to purr. With Metacat, when you stroke the head, it will mew and eventually purr. It also moves its tail when you stroke the head. When you stroke the back sensor on the Joy for All, the Joy for All purrs. When you stroke the back sensor on Metacat, Metacat will meow and move his tail. But if you hold your hand on the back touch sensor, you feel and hear a heartbeat. And as far as the Joy for All cat is concerned, I'm not aware of it having any other sensors other than touch sensors. I've seen no evidence of a microphone, unlike the Joy for All pup and the Joy for All bird, which talk back to you when you speak to them. And though some people say that the Joy for All cat has a light sensor, I've never noticed any evidence of it having a light sensor. Again, with the Joy for All bird and the Joy for All pup, as soon as the light changes, they react and they're sensitive to you walking past. But I've never noticed that behaviour in the Joy for All cat. It really does seem to me that it just has touch sensors. In contrast, Metacat obviously does have a microphone, because it's got speech recognition. And this is the big difference between the first version of Metacat and the second version, as the first version didn't have a microphone and didn't have voice recognition. And of course didn't have the eye icons that you get in answer to the voice commands. So I demonstrated the come here command at the beginning of the video. I thought that was quite hilarious that Metacat shook its head in answer. So I'm going to try out a few other commands now that I didn't try out when I did my unboxing video of Metacat. Metacat, give me a kiss. Right, so sends you a heart. Metacat, give me 5. Got little hands in the eyes. I do like the voice commands. Metacat, love you. I like to do that sometimes, just when Metacat's on my lap, or I say to him, good boy, because it's just nice to have these little hearts in his eyes in response. So those are the senses that the cats have. And next I'm going to compare the movements of the two cats. So the Joy for All has this movement where it lifts one of its legs and licks its paw. It opens and closes its mouth. And its head goes backwards and forwards, and then it's got a sort of twisting action like that. And the ears move slightly when it opens its mouth and puts its head back. And of course it opens and closes its eyes. And it also has this rather dramatic movement where the whole of the front end of the cat rolls back over and then rolls forward again. Metacat has a lot less moving parts. The head moves in 2 axes. And the tail moves. However, though there's only 2 moving parts on Metacat, the head and the tail, there's a lot more variation in the movement and there's a lot more subtlety. So Paul, I said in a previous video, these 2 cats have got completely different sorts of motors.
They have, yeah.
This one has got probably just the one motor and lots of linkages, so you've got mechanical sort of sequences built in.
That's right, yeah, yeah.
This one has got servo motors, 1 in the tail and 2 in the neck. Now, because that's got servo motors, it's all the movements all done programmatically, aren't they?
It's all done by software, yes.
Yeah. So that means that it can have much more variation.
Much more variation, and I think that's quite obvious in watching Metacat as well. Although Marmalade does have many more different types of movement.
Yeah, it's, you know, moving leg, moving ears, moving eyes. But to me, Marmalade doesn't come across as being lifelike, even though it's got more movement.
That's right, because
they look mechanical.
They do. They look very jerky, don't they? And also, whilst it's got more movement, there's one important movement feature in a cat, which is the tail, which Marmalade doesn't have.
Yeah, it's like most animals. the tail movement's really important.
It is
isn't
important
it?
to
tell
understand
you,
the mood. Yeah.
yeah, you know, is it getting excited watching something? Is it relaxed? Is it angry?
That's right.
So next I'm going to compare the sounds that the two cats make. So that's one meow. And that's another. And a third. And here are the sounds that Metacat makes. I believe Metacat's meows are recordings of a real cat, whereas the meows that the Joy for All cat makes are obviously a person doing an impression of a cat. And I have had a lot of comments from people in the past that have said that one of the main things that they dislike about the Joy for All is the sounds. I don't know why the makers of the Joy for All haven't given it real cat sounds. I don't think it'd be that difficult to do. So I'll compare the purrs of the two cats now. So this is the Joy for All cat's purr. And this is Metacat's purr. Another thing I would say about the sounds of the two cats is that the Joy for All cat is much more vocal than Metacat. A lot of the time, if you're not stroking Metacat's quiet. He might just swish his tail or look around, but he remains quiet. I find him much more relaxing because of that. Most of the time, the Joy for All cat makes a meow sound. You don't have to interact with it, it will just meow. Occasionally, it does this, it purrs continually, which I prefer to the meows, but it's like it can't just sit and move and be quiet for a while. The only time it does that is if you actually knock it onto mute. So that concludes my comparison of these two cats. Overall, I would say that Metacat is much more relaxing to be around, and I find Metacat more realistic, so that's why I prefer Metacat. So that's it for this video. Thanks for watching as always, and see you next time.